This video is intended to serve as a reminder of safe work practices and is not a complete presentation of this topic. It should be used by individuals trained and competent in this subject. It is not intended to replace or supersede company procedures, industry standards, and/or applicable governmental laws and regulations.
At ONEOK, we are committed to pursuing a zero-incident culture by continuously working to eliminate risk and incidents that may bring harm to our employees, contractors, the public, and our environment. We expect our contractors to share in this same commitment. All contractors must understand the responsibilities relative to safety and environmental issues. Each contractor is expected to comply with all ONEOK partners' environmental, safety, and health rules and procedures, as well as complying with all applicable laws and regulations, including those of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Welcome to ONEOK Rockies Midstream.
Before a contractor can begin work, there must be a contract in place with ONEOK, such as a master service agreement. Also, the contractor must be a member of IS Networld and have an adequate approval rating. We are pleased to have you as a contractor and want your work at this facility to be completed safely and successfully. When you arrive on location, always park so the first movement is always in a forward direction. When leaving, perform a 360-degree walk-around before entering the cab of the vehicle in order to inspect the vehicle condition and avoid any obstacles while pulling away from location. Obey all speed limit signs and always wear your seatbelt. For your added safety and security, all contractors must first sign in and out every time when entering or leaving the facility. The sign-in log is located in the main office. If an emergency evacuation of the facility is required, the sign-in log sheets will be used to assure all personnel are accurately accounted for. As part of your right to know, safety data sheets, or SDS, list the hazards associated with any chemicals and include precautions you should take to ensure your safety. ONEOK utilizes an online safety data sheet service, and the database can be accessed electronically in the plant control room. Paper copies of safety data sheets are also maintained in the plant control room. In addition, contractors must notify ONEOK personnel if any chemicals are brought on site and are required to provide a safety data sheet for each chemical. A pre-job hazard assessment, JSA, is required before you begin work at any ONEOK facility. Once the sequence of the job steps have been identified, potential hazards for each step must be identified, and a recommended action or procedure must be developed for each potential hazard. The work crew supervisor is responsible for developing the JSA with the assistance of the work crew. The contractor is required to develop and implement methods to eliminate, alleviate, and minimize all hazards. All contractors on site are required to review and sign the JSA. All containers containing chemicals, fuels, lubricants, and oils are required to be labeled with their contents. Containers must be removed when no longer in use. Plastic gas cans are not allowed at any of our facilities, and secondary containment should be utilized for all portable containers to prevent leaks, drips, or spills from contacting the ground. In addition, truck drivers are required to be within 25 feet of their trucks during loading and unloading operations and are required to wear approved fire-resistant or retardant clothing, hard hat, approved eye protection, and approved protective footwear when engaged in loading/unloading activities. We ask that you bring nothing on site that may compromise safety. Drugs, alcohol, and firearms are prohibited at this facility. ONEOK reserves the right to conduct a search of all vehicles on the premises. Your conduct and the conduct of your fellow workers while at this facility determine if you are contracted for services again. Horseplay, scuffling, wrestling, or throwing objects will not be tolerated. Always be respectful of those around you and fellow workers. Smoking or chewing tobacco is not allowed on ONEOK properties. Cell phones and all portable electronic devices must remain turned off and inside of the vehicle. The use of cameras or filming of ONEOK property is not allowed. ONEOK is committed to safety and environmental responsibility. Spill prevention measures, including secondary containment, should be established before and used throughout your job scope to prevent spills, leaks, or drips from contacting the ground. You are responsible for the removal and disposal of all unused products brought to the facility by you or your workers. All chemical, fuel, lubricant, or oil spills or releases, no matter how minor they appear to be, must be cleaned up immediately and reported to a ONEOK representative. Violation of these policies will not be tolerated at this facility. Know where the closest eye wash stations and first aid kits are located throughout the facility. If you are injured on the job, you must report it to your supervisor immediately, no matter how small the incident may be. All accidents, injuries, illnesses, or near misses, no matter how minor they are, must be immediately reported to a ONEOK representative. This facility has implemented a facility security plan. The purpose of this plan is to provide personnel with a systematic approach to secure assets and protect personnel from potential security threats. The plant manager is responsible for physical security of the facility and is responsible for implementing the security plan. Any suspicious activities or personnel acting in a suspicious manner should be reported to the plant manager. This facility treats, processes, and compresses natural gas. The natural gas enters the plant through the slug catchers and inlet separators. The natural gas is then processed using temperature and pressure to remove the natural gas liquids, NGLs. This NGL mix is commonly called Y-grade mix. This Y-grade mix is made up of ethane propane, propane, isobutane, normal butane, and natural gasoline. The gas, or residue, is compressed. The gas is then metered before entering the sales pipeline. The liquids are metered and sent out via the sales pipeline. The hazards associated with these products are flammable liquid under pressure, flammable liquid at atmospheric pressure, pressurized natural gas, toxic gas, hydrogen sulfide, electrical voltages, pressurized air, thermal hazards, hot pipe and hot fluids, cold pipe and cold fluids, and mechanical equipment. Hydrogen sulfide, known as H2S, is an invisible, colorless gas that smells like rotten eggs at low concentrations. H2S is highly flammable and burns with a blue flame. If it's detected, then move upwind at a 90-degree angle and report immediately. Hydrogen sulfide gas in very small concentrations can have serious health effects, including death. Most monitors are set to alarm at 10 ppm, parts per million. If at any time the alarm sounds or there is an equipment malfunction, the area is to be evacuated and re-evaluated prior to resuming work. Continuous air monitoring shall be utilized at ONEOK facilities, and all contractors are required to properly wear a calibrated 4-gas monitor. You must constantly be aware of the safety hazards around you. The following personal protective equipment, PPE, is required to be worn while at this facility. Approved fire-retardant clothing, either daily workwear or coveralls, hard hat, safety glasses with fitted side shields, ANSI Z41 approved steel toe or composite toe protective footwear, hearing protection where indicated, and properly calibrated 4-gas monitor. Additional PPE, such as gloves, chemical protective suits, and respirators may be required depending on the job task being performed. It is the responsibility of the contractor to supply their employees with all of the PPE necessary for the job. Fall protection is required when working over 4 feet above ground level. A full-body harness with shock-absorbing lanyards must be worn if you are working 4 feet above ground level or from a work platform or scaffolding which does not have a guardrail system installed. You must understand the emergency action and response plan of the facility and be prepared to follow all emergency instructions. The emergency evacuation alarm system consists of a horn. In the case of an evacuation, be aware of the routes that correspond to the specific areas you will be working in. These routes lead to the designated assembly area and have been designed to lower your risk of injury. Assembly areas are designated by a green windsock. Follow your route quickly and safely. All motor vehicles will be shut off, along with any other equipment being operated by the contractor. Do not leave the assembly area until you are released by the incident commander. Your supervisor will be in charge during emergency conditions and responsible for communicating with the incident commander. Secondary assembly areas are also marked by a green windsock and are strategically located around the plant site. Depending on wind direction, evacuation to a secondary assembly area may be required. All contractors working near or on our sites are required to obtain a work authorization permit. The contractor is responsible for requesting a work authorization permit, which must be completed prior to the start of any work at the facility. The contractor must request the permit from the plant control room personnel or the designated ONEOK representative. Hot work includes any of the following: vehicle entering into the facility, open flame of any type, welding, cutting, or grinding, acetylene cutting, wire wheel operation, operation of electric tools, sandblasting, operation of engine-powered work equipment, operation of heat or spark-producing tools, and the operation of pneumatic tools. After the work authorization permit has been issued, fasten the permit to the equipment being worked on or immediately adjacent to the equipment. It must be clearly visible at all times while work is in progress. A hot work vehicle entry permit is required for vehicle activity conducted at the facility. Continuous air monitoring is required while performing hot work in the facility, and specific guidance will be provided by the ONEOK representative when the work authorization permit is completed. ONEOK has specific requirements for hazardous energy isolation utilizing lockout-tagout procedures. The procedures comply with OSHA regulations and include the facility energy-controlled lockout-tagout policy. As a contractor at this site, you will be expected to follow the energy-controlled lockout-tagout policy. Personnel entering tanks, towers, reactors, boilers, heaters, furnaces, lines, sewers, trenches, truck rack scales, underground valves, excavations determined to be a confined space, or any other area where hazardous vapors may be present or where an oxygen-deficient atmosphere could exist, is required to obtain a confined space entry permit prior to the start of work. Confined space permits are valid for 12 hours or one shift. Continuous air monitoring will be performed during all confined space entry. Work areas should be barricaded to prevent unauthorized access. Yellow caution barricades and red danger barricades can be only crossed by personnel authorized to work in those areas. Personnel must gain permission from a designated ONEOK representative prior to entering and be familiar with all the dangers related to the work at hand. All excavations performed within or near ONEOK facilities are considered a critical job and require a job safety analysis to be completed and a work authorization permit to be issued prior to the start of any excavating. The ONEOK excavation checklist shall be completed prior to personnel entering any excavation 4 feet in depth or greater. All soil shall be classified as Type C. A one-call must be placed and all underground installations identified in accordance with the ONEOK line locating standard before digging begins. A ONEOK authorized representative will review the completed permit before work begins. The equipment operator will also sign the permit. All digging within a minimum of 24 inches of unexposed pipeline must be completed by hand. Hydrovac evacuation is allowed within 24 inches of the pipeline as a substitute for hand digging. Continuous air monitoring will be performed during all excavation jobs. Work areas should be kept free of flammables and debris. Portable fire extinguishers are located throughout this facility and are for emergency use only. In the event a fire watch is required for a particular job, the contractor is required to supply their own fire extinguisher and trained fire watch personnel, and must remain at the job for 30 minutes after the work is completed and monitor for the possibility of flare-ups. If a fire hazard cannot be removed, then use preventative measures such as water spray, wetted tarps, flame retardant tarps, fireboxes, or fire blankets to guard against heat, slag, or sparks that could result in a fire. Also consider the effect hot work may have on the surrounding area and other work activities. Although there are numerous ways you could be injured on the job site, our expectations and policy is to manage all operations in a manner that protects the health and safety of our contractors, customers, and the public.